Why I personally love storyboarding, it really allows me to take the time to think through my shots and to really focus on the importance of what I'm going to put on screen. And so I'm looking at everything at once. I'm looking at the framing and the composition. I'm looking at the production design and the lighting and the costume design and sort of the mood that I want to create. And I'm able to do all of that in a conceptual way with all the time in the world. Because I think that, most filmmakers, obviously they want to get their movie made, but you have the luxury of making it on paper. Once you've written the script, you have all the time in the world to really sit down and conceptualize it and plan it and really be effective in your decision making. I think the best directors are the ones that are able to make effective decisions. It's really the intention behind the creative decision that you're making and why that needs to be serving the story. You're not just thinking about the shots, you're thinking about your cuts, and you're thinking about how long you want to spend on each shot. To the next composition, how many shots do I really need to tell this story? How many shots can I effectively convey the tension, the drama, the comedy, anything that I want to do? You're really thinking it through in its purest form. Conceptualizing on paper is free. All it takes is time. So just sitting down and conceptualizing your movie from beginning to end is really, it takes just the amount of effort that you want to put into it. And you don't need money to do that. Like, you can literally just sit down and start sketching it out and putting it together. Because once money does come into the picture, then you don't have enough time, right? The money dictates the time, and the more prepared you are, and the more that you've conceptualized and visualized your movie in a core sense of again, from decision making, from effective decision making, you're able to utilize your resources more effectively. It gives you more latitude for experimentation because you already know what you need from a core sense, and then you're able to sort of play around with the ideas because you already have a skeleton or a blueprint that you're always going to refer to. I also find that storyboarding is just like such an effective creative tool to open your creativity, because I personally love to draw, and I think that drawing is a very meditative practice. So it really kind of zeroes me in. I'm very passionate, and so I have a lot of energy and a lot of creative ideas and a lot of flow, and so I'm able to think very quickly, but there's something about the storyboarding process that just slows me down. It's creativity in its purest form, really. Like, you are really creating anything you want. You can put anything you want on paper, and taking that time to slow down and really and think about your shot. It's not just like, oh, I need a close-up. Why do you need a close-up? What can you do with the close-up to make it more effective for the story? What can you put in the background? How can you use leading lines to draw the attention? How can you use left to right framing? At least most of the directors that I admire, James Cameron, Ridley Scott, Denis Villeneuve, they all storyboard their movies effectively. I made a very ambitious sci-fi short film, and I knew that, we weren't really gonna have a lot of the money or the resources to be able to pull this off fully the way that I wanted to. And so what I did was I storyboarded the entire movie, and I drew it out, and then I went into After Effects and animated the storyboards that I had hand-drawn. I'd scanned them and then animated it and created an animatic where I basically made the whole movie from beginning to end. And I was discovering whether my shots would cut together. I was trying to create the proper tension. I needed to understand how many visual effects I was going to put into it. But it allowed me to visualize that and say, okay, now I know how to plan my days. And I don't need to worry about, running out of time. I don't need to worry about not having enough material to tell my story because I've planned it. I love to do my storyboards in color. A lot of storyboard artists, work in black and white. The color information that you get really conveys to the mood. If you can sort of generate the mood that you want in a storyboard, it's so much more of an effective tool to share with the crew or your cinematographer and say, hey, look, I'm after this sort of color palette, or I'm after this sort of mood, and they can see it. We are in a visual art form, and so the visual nature of the storyboard helps to spread the vision to everybody else. If I can impart the knowledge, at least of how I storyboard, it's, sit down with intention, break down your script, go through it with a pencil, and, just go through the action, just mark what you want, like, hey, this could be a close-up here, a medium shot, this is gonna be an establishing shot, I'm gonna do a dolly shot moving in here and there. You just kind of outline it all in the script. And then you take that outline and then you sit with the paper. If you don't know how to draw, practice, learn. There's tons of resources on YouTube on how to learn how to draw. You can even do it with stick figures, and make it, circles and sticks, circle for a head if you're close up. But at least you get an idea of your framing and your composition, and you're still, thinking about the rule of thirds, and you can draw arrows for, dolly motions, and, you're always writing notes into the storyboards, whether it's handheld, you want some camera shake or something. Watch movies, look at shots, utilize resources like Shot Deck. Find the shots that you like the composition of, and then just draw a brief outline. It's truly a rewarding and fun experience because there's a sense of accomplishment when you draw your boards and you see it all come together. You sort of can line up your movie, and then you sort of play it out. You follow it with your eye, and you're like, wow, yeah, it's cutting together. It's looking a certain way. And the rewarding creative sense that you get out of that is just invaluable. It unlocks you, it frees you from the sense of being tied down to a budget. Every film's gonna have a given amount of resources to execute, but when you're doing it on paper, you sort of free yourself from, okay, I'm not gonna worry about what the budget's gonna say. Let me just frame this how I wanna do it. Because ironically, once you have it on paper, then you can look at it creatively and say, okay, now we have X amount of resources in the budget. Let's figure out how we can still accomplish the shot within that. Instead of worrying about how you have to downsize or limit yourself to shoot a movie because you don't have the budget. I think that creativity should fuel the management of resources, not the management of resources into creativity. There's a lot of software out there now, and like AI can generate storyboards for you. But I think, again, while that's all great and it makes it easy, I think there's something of the nature of just the connection to the artist that is making them. If you use AI, you might get sort of an outline of the shots that you want, but at the end of the day, it's not really going to be something that you had a hand in. It's something that was generated for you, rather than you having to really think about the intention. And you drawing them out, whether you're working with a storyboard artist or you draw them yourself, there's something about the creative nature of the human element in it, that you're taking the time to think, that you're putting things in yourself. There's an ownership to that. I just encourage every director and filmmaker to at least experiment or try it once, and even if it's, it can be overwhelming to do a full script, just do a page. Do one sequence, do one scene, practice it, and then just see how it plays out, and you'd be amazed at how effective it is. But there is something beautiful about the nature of it. You'll find that it enhances the creative sense of the project as a whole. So get out there, just start it, just start storyboarding.